Hey folks, this is Kalani. With the Shadowlands alpha finally in our laps, and with the dev team saying that we've seen the majority of the big class changes that we're going to see, it's a perfect time to sit down and take a closer look at how each class has changed and how it's currently playing in the alpha. One class that has seen more changes than most is the Shaman, so who better to go up first in our little list of first looks at classes and specs in the Shadowlands expansion. I want to start out with the enhancement spec because it seems to have quite a lot of people excited, so let's have a look at what's going on under the hood. Before we start, just in case you weren't aware, we have started streaming over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. You should pop by sometime and say hi. So far, Enhancement seems like a great hybrid spec. They can do almost everything. The only thing missing is tanking. Depending on how you build, you can focus into single target damage, you can focus into cleave damage, you can work on getting as many Maelstrom stacks as possible during an encounter to pump out some extra damage or some extra heals, and you're just going to provide your group or raid with some good utility in the form of those hybrid heals and some of those special Shaman totems. Let's take a look at what changed for Enhancement first. Perhaps the largest and most important change is the return of Maelstrom weapon stacks. This is a passive ability that can reduce the cast time of any ability that you have by 20%, and it stacks up to 5 times. So at 5 stacks, any spell that has a spell cast time becomes instant. So you can instant cast lightning bolts, chain lightning, elemental blast. Yes, that is an option now. Healing surge, chain heal. You get the idea. If it has a cast time, Maelstrom weapon can make that spell instant. The trade-off is that we no longer have the Maelstrom resource, so we're just back to using mana and prioritizing our cooldowns. You can get stacks of Maelstrom weapon whenever you deal damage with a melee weapon. We also see the return of weapon imbuements. Both Wind Fury weapon and Flame Tongue weapon will be back, which means you'll be putting Wind Fury weapon on your main hand and Flame Tongue on your offhand. That's kind of your only choice by the looks of things, and I guess it really doesn't change much considering we had Wind Fury as a passive and Flame Tongue stuck around as the same kind of buff, it just wasn't on your weapon. But for the sake of Shaman fantasy, they're once again weapon imbuements. Just be sure to actually put them on your weapons every now and then. A few totems are making a comeback, most of which are available to all Shamans. Wind Fury is special for Enhancement. Yes, that's right, Wind Fury totem is back in the game, so you'll pretty much always want at least one Enhancement Shaman in your raid for all of the other melee to benefit from that totem, right? Healing Stream totem is back too, so you can throw that down whenever your group or raid is taking damage and get some of that good old hybrid healing back. Searing totem is there as well. Look at it go. It's doing its best, okay? The damage numbers probably, hopefully aren't final, but it's doing its best. Poor little Searing totem. Frost Shock will also be replacing Frost Brand as your slow effect, and for what it's worth, Flame Shock and Frost Shock do share a cooldown right now on the alpha, so that might change things a little bit for you, but probably not too much. Chain Heal is also back on the menu for all Shamans, so you might get some other chances to show off your hybrid prowess, especially if you Chain Heal with some of your Maelstrom stacks. Very nice indeed. And Chain Lightning joins the crew to help you zap all of your enemies from afar. This one is definitely going to be important when you take your Maelstrom stacks into consideration when you have plenty of targets to hit. And to top things off, Lightning Shield is once again a baseline Shaman ability, because it should never have been made a talent in the first place, let's be honest. That's most of the actual ability changes, but some talents have also been significantly reworked. Forceful Winds has moved to the first row and now increases the damage of Wind Fury, seeing as we don't have the Maelstrom resource anymore. Lightning Shield was made baseline as we just touched on, so that talent spot opened up and the dev team decided to slap Elemental Blast in there. It does the same thing as it always has, but now you can use it as enhancement. There's one strong choice for your Maelstrom stacks at least. Hot Hand has moved to the second row and it's been turned into a bit of a damage window. It now increases the damage of Lava Lash and reduces its cooldown for 8 seconds. So for those 8 seconds when this procs, Lava Lash can be used every other global cooldown and it hits like a truck, but that does push you into more proc based gameplay. Everything on the fourth row changed. Hailstorm is a bit weird. Now whenever you Storm Strike you reset the cooldown on your shocks, so Flame and Frost Shock. Doesn't seem all that strong or impactful unless you want to spread more Flame Shocks around, I guess. Searing Assault causes your Searing Totem to fire significantly faster and your Flame Shock to tick faster. It's pretty hilarious watching the totem go, but we won't know how this talent will do until damage tuning is final. He may be shooting faster, but that poor Searing Totem still isn't really doing any damage. And then we have Overcharge. Instant cast, 1.5 minute cooldown, instantly gain 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon and 1 stack every second for the next 10 seconds. This one is a lot of fun to play with. Unsurprisingly, you get an instant cast spell right now and 2 more over the next 10 seconds, and that's on top of any Maelstrom stacks you yourself generate. With Chain Lightning back on the menu, we can start up the light shows again. Fury of Air has disappeared on the 6th row and Stormkeeper has replaced it. If you've played Elishami, you should know what to expect. Your next 2 Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning spells are instant and deal more damage. What more could you ask for? The Stormkeeper cast can also be reduced to an instant cast with your Maelstrom weapon stacks, so you can chain all of these instant casts together for some incredibly fun results. And that's all the talent changes so far, though I'm not sure how much more we should expect in the way of class changes. From what Ian has said, most of the big class changes are in the alpha and we shouldn't see too many sweeping changes from this point on, but we are still in the first week or so. Anything could change at this point. The last ability that we can showcase right now is the Kyrian Covenant ability, which is the same for all shamans. Vesper Totem allows you to plop down a totem for 30 seconds, and the next 3 damaging abilities cause the totem to pulse for some AoE damage, and the next 3 healing abilities cause the totem to pulse for some AoE healing. These are exclusive charges, they aren't shared at all, so it's 3 of each, not 3 of whatever you use first. So you can help your raid out with some heals without sacrificing your DPS, or if you're a Redstone Shaman, you can heal without having to DPS. The totem makes for a good burst cooldown too. Throw it down among a pack of mobs and go to town with your Crash Lightnings, Cleaving Storm Strikes, and maybe some Chain Lightnings. Popping off these 3 DPS charges very quickly is pretty satisfying to see. It's a good chunk of damage. There are a few different setups that you can run with Enhancement, depending on how you want to play. If you take Overcharge and Stormkeeper, you can overcharge into an instant Stormkeeper into some instant Chain Lightnings for that lovely burst cleave. That works wonders with your Covenant Totem too. Pop that down, unleash all of your burst, and the totem will pulse for a good amount of damage just by itself. You can also keep up some DPS while at ranged if you save your Overcharge for when you know you're going to have to run away. Pick up Ascendance on the last row and you can stay at range even longer. So if you want to, you can build like a pseudo-ranged shaman almost. You'll spend most of your time in melee as per usual, but you have that window of time where you can happily just DPS from across the room. Very useful if you can't get to your target. You can focus more on single target with Hot Hand and Searing Assault. If you don't like casting, you can take the instant cast abilities like Sundering and just spend your Maelstrom weapon stacks on Lightning Bolts. And if you love the idea of helping out your healers, you can cast some Chain Heals in there as well. The hybrids are definitely making a comeback from what I've seen, and Enhancement is going to hold its own in that field. In the grand scheme of things, Enhancement really aren't losing anything. They're just gaining more raid utility, more ways to play, and they're being unshackled from the Maelstrom resource. The only problem that I have with them right now is related to the global cooldown. Because you have so many abilities as a shaman right now, if you want to do anything semi-useful for your raid, that's a global cooldown gone. If you want to set up some of these cool combos, you have to push 3 or 4 buttons to get your rotation rolling before you deal any damage. If you want to set absolutely everything up, you're looking at throwing down Searing Totem, summoning your wolves, applying Flame Shock, throwing down your Covenant Totem, using Overcharge, using Stormkeeper, then you can finally deal some damage, and you haven't pressed Storm Strike at all yet. The setup doesn't really feel great, but it gets better when you get rolling. The payoff doesn't seem right now for some of the abilities too. You have a lot of buttons to push, but without procs, none of them really seem to do much, but that's more likely to do with numbers tuning, which we really shouldn't pay attention to at all right now. Numbers come later. Right now it's all about feel and playstyle. Enhancement can still fall into the Feast or Famine pitfalls too. If you don't get any Storm Strike procs, you have some dead time in your rotation, depending on how you talent. But if you get too many Storm Strike procs, you don't have any time to cast all of these other cool combos. If you get it right in the middle, it's pretty smooth, but we all know just how likely that's going to be. So if you like a lot of buttons, and you love the Enhancement Shaman class fantasy, and you love that good old Wind Fury totem, I think you'll probably have a blast with the current Shadowlands Enhancement Shaman changes. Hopefully they deal a bit more damage later on though. If you like to keep things simple, this might not be the class for you. But that's it for this first look at Enhancement Shaman. What do you think from what you've seen so far? Are you thinking about playing Enhancement Shaman when the expansion finally rolls around? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. If you want to explore the alpha alongside us, we're streaming over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. Come say hi. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and our subscribers on Twitch. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find links in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.